sometimes people are afraid to even admit because you don't think it's necessarily possible, but would love to be able to generate some revenue from my podcast. And I don't have an incredible amount of downloads, and I just keep doing it because it's what I've been doing, and I feel like it does pay off.
Most hosts never achieve the results they hoped for. They're falling short on listenership and monetization, meaning their message isn't being heard and their show ends up costing them money. This podcast was created to help you grow your listenership and make money while you're at it. Get ready to take notes. Here's your host, Adam Adams.
Hey, what's up, podcaster? It's your host, Adam Adams. And today I am joined with the host, Nate Bailey of Championship Leadership with Nate Bailey. And his podcast is really crushing it. He's done over 300 episodes. And a little bit ago, I offered to you, the listener, and I put it on Facebook as well, anyone who wants just a free coaching call that we can record and it becomes an episode. And generally speaking, these are your favorite episodes because I get to pour into you while I'm pouring into them. And generally, they're going to ask the same questions that are on your mind. And so let's just dive in with Nate Bailey from Championship Leadership. That link is already in the show notes. His bio is in the show notes. So go ahead and grab that. Nate, welcome to the show, man.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah. Thanks for having me on to help me out here a little bit.
Yeah. Thrilled. And it'll help out our listener as well. And well, it sounded like you had 1, 2, or 3 questions kind of lined up that you wanted to ask. So let's just start with the first one.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I guess one of the big ones would be I've been doing this, as you can see, over 300 episodes and running, and I've been pretty consistent with it. Had some great guests on. From a business standpoint, I've definitely gotten some business from it. Just the other day from a guest I almost didn't even remember. I got an email, said, "Hey, would you be open to some executive coaching with this guy that's looking for a coach?" And I'm like, yeah. So, I mean, long play, right? Like it helps people check you out, credibility, authority, experience, all that. But I don't know, it's always something that I feel like sometimes people are afraid to even admit because you don't think it's necessarily possible, but would love to be able to generate some revenue from my podcast and almost don't really even know where to go or to start or to begin with that. I don't have an incredible amount of downloads. And so, yeah, I just keep doing it. Because it's what I've been doing, and I feel like it does pay off in some form or fashion. But yeah, I would love to be able to, if there is a way, which I'm sure there is, and I feel like you're probably the person to talk to with this, is what would be a way to really create, to have this, because it takes time, right? It takes time to do this each and every week. And it costs me money too, right? To edit it and have a team that helps me do that and put it all out. What's a way to get this thing moving in the right direction and generating some revenue?
Cool. Well, first, let me reply back what I'm hearing. So you are getting some business from your podcast. One of the examples was an executive coaching, and it sounds like they were hiring you because of your podcast, right?
Yes. I mean, that's how we connected with this guy, and he's on a board.
And he's hiring you?
He's got a friend. Well, there's a member of this company that he's a board member of that is looking for an executive coach. And so now we're in contact and we'll see what happens.
Nice. And how much does it typically cost? Like, can you give me just a broad range, something that might last for 10 years of people listening to this same episode, of how much an executive coach would normally charge a company like that?
Probably anywhere from $2,000 to $5,000 a month.
$2,000 to $5,000 a month for like how long? Would it be a year long?
Yeah, probably a year. I guess it depends. The relationship could last longer, but yeah, a year.
So we're thinking like $25,000 to $50,000 or $60,000 that you may have generated this week because of the podcast. And you just want to be able to do more of those. You want to get in front of more people, find a way to make sure that it's monetizing. And would you be open to monetizing through having sponsors, like people that want to be partnered with your show? Yeah,
absolutely. I think I'll always have those. I want it to be more measurable and sustainable and predictable.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Oh, it makes a lot of sense.
Sponsorships, I think, would absolutely be a way to do that, right?
Cool. All right. And you wanted to put money in your pocket instead of taking money away. You said that it's costing me money. You're saying this podcast is costing money because of editing and production and things like that.
Yeah.
Can we talk about your download numbers? on the air? Okay.
Yeah.
So you said it's not that great. Where are we today after 320 something episodes?
I think I just went over 50,000 downloads here, according to Libsyn.
50K total. And do you have an idea of what it is? Is the last one like 340 downloads for that one episode? Can you check it out for us while we're on? I'm just trying to take a guess here.
What my last episode is?
Yeah. Most recent.
I would say they're all right around 100.
Okay.
Seems like plus or minus some. But yeah, that's kind of the going average. And then I do put this to YouTube as well. So there's views and listens there as well that I'm not really taking into consideration.
Okay. Yeah, I've got mine on YouTube and I never think about it. I always care about the audio experience more. Right. YouTube's a good search engine, so we may as well be on there. But when I grow my podcast or our clients' podcast, we focus on the audio experience. So a little over 100. Lately, it's got to be averaging more than 150, I think, to have 50,000 with 300 and some odd episodes. But
would you want me to share my screen?
You can definitely share your screen, and it won't matter for the listener so much, but I'll check it out and share what we're looking at.
Okay. Can do that. And then, they have this new metric on there, the IAB versus the unique. So I guess those are unique numbers too. So
Nate has pulled up his screen. We've got the numbers in front of us now, and I'm just going to share a little bit about what we are seeing. And one of the things that is slightly concerning, just slightly, is that your numbers are going a little bit down just the last month-ish. So if I'm looking in May and March, April, May, you're always averaging pretty close to 150. Like there's a couple months above, a couple months below, but it's pretty close to 150. And then if we go to June and July and August, now it's pretty close to 110. And then if we go to more recent, we're recording this in actually technically November now, but you're probably now averaging like 60 or something. So Nate, this is what I do with clients also is I try to find out why did it go down? Like what made it change? If you were getting 150, 160, and then 110, 120, and now 40, 50, 60, 70, I want to find out what's different about it. So can I actually play an excerpt of your podcast for the listener? And we can talk a little bit about it? Okay. So I'm going to pull up, I've plugged in my podcast, my phone into my Rodecaster and Championship Leadership. I'm typing in your podcast. It comes right up. You're the first one. And it looks like you've got 153 ratings. So that's not small. Can I ask you, I believe your download numbers are a little lower than I would expect for that many ratings and reviews. So I'm just going to ask, was there a period of time that you were calling your friends and mom and dad and saying, hey, could you give me a rating and review? Or were these all organic?
There was a good number of those where we were just reaching out, asking for a favor and asking them to review. And we still do that with each guest that comes on. We ask them to give us a review as well. Okay,
perfect. And you've had 300-ish guests and 153, so almost a good amount of them. 1 out of 3 or more are probably giving you that review on iTunes, specifically on Apple. All right, let's play one of the more recent ones. Here's one that just came out. It's only a 23-minute episode. We're not listening to the whole thing, guys. You're listening. We're just going to spot check. Here we go. Let's go. In 05 and 06, I deployed to Kuwait. I used to wait every day for them to say, nature going home. I miss my life, miss my wife. 15 months, she was all alone. But when I got back, I felt out of control. Feeling entitled, I put my life on hold. I keep on drinking, so I'm sinking in a river of liquor. Me and my wife weren't alright, I didn't reconnect with it. I had a business, insurance agent, and rental properties. But is there something bigger than this? I know there's gotta be, so I invested in myself. I started seeing coaches. Life is a camera, I fixed the lens, and now I see in focus. Now my life's unrecognizable from my life just a couple years ago. 17 plus
years of marriage, it's never been better than this. And we got 3 kids, that's who I do it for. I'm called to be a leader. I'ma lead the way, cause I'm a firm believer. We can do anything we want. If I said it, then I meant it. I probably already did it. Consider it done. Consider it done. If you need
I'm going to pause for a sec. We're at 1 minute, 12 seconds. How long is the music? How long is that song?
It was just about done.
Just about. Okay.
inspiration, you should play this Championship Leadership Podcast. Hey, Bailey. Championship Leadership Podcast. Championship Leadership Podcast. With Nate.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back, Championship Leadership Podcast. And I got David Paul Cavazos.
Can I give you a couple of things I believe wholeheartedly could improve your listener base? And one of them, or wait, I need to get the permission first. May I?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
I'm like, can I do this? And I start doing it. All right. So if your intro music is like that long, I think it's badass that you got someone to create a song talking about your life, the 17 years of marriage, your 3 kids, how you weren't where you wanted to be, but you started seeking out coaches and paying for coaches, and it changed your life. And now you're a happy marriage, making more money in your business, etc. I think that's really, really cool. And it talks about, this is the Championship Leadership Podcast with Nate Bailey right on there. I think there's a lot of good. I think it might be, I'm going to say my opinion would be that it's overly creative and it takes like over a minute. And overly creative, like it is super creative and it's super good. It's just that I would want to hear it once or twice. I wouldn't want to hear it like on every episode.
Yeah.
So I am going to probably ask you, when did you bring that in? Was it from the very get-go or?
Yes, I believe that was the very beginning.
Okay. All right. I had a hunch of something and it's not the case. I was wondering if this was added around the time that things were dropping. But
I think going to that point, just when you see the numbers dropping, I mean, this first page that you have up right now, it doesn't have the full 90 days, where those other ones that have 150 have 90 days of stats.
Yeah, good point. He's right, because
if you look at the first 30 days.
Yeah, I'm with you 100%. Yes, it looks like, so I want the listener to be able to hear what we're saying. In the first 7 days, he basically gets a little over half, maybe 50 to 60%. And then after 30 days, he gets another 20%. And after 90 days, he gets another 25% or something like that, until he has most of those downloads. So I am looking at that as well. So that's a good thing for the listener to understand too, is that don't always worry about how many downloads you get like tomorrow. Like you publish it today. You don't need to care so much about how many downloads did I have on that yesterday, because Nate's getting significant, like 25, 30% of his downloads are happening after 30 days for that episode. And so that's just a good thing to point out.
Still think they could be way better. To your point.
I think we can help you get them better, and we can talk about a few things that you could do. One of the things that I want to talk about is just like the music is really awesome. Like they did a good job. It's well done. It's got a good beat to it. The only thing is that not everybody wants to listen to a 1.5 minute song all the time. Right. Like I just went to a Post Malone concert a couple days ago. He was in Denver, and I listened to him a few times before the concert because I was like, you know what? I want to really maybe get to know the words better, and just I'm getting excited about it. But I most likely probably won't play Post Malone for another couple of weeks. Probably want to take a little bit off. Right. Not all of us like a song enough to listen to it daily or weekly. And I think your listener, being that it's a minute and 20 seconds, it's much, much, much longer than a jingle that's for like a cartoon when we were growing up and we were watching shows, Step by Step. What is that other one? Friends. Yeah. When we would watch different shows, Yogi Bear, the music was never a minute and 20 seconds. It could have been 30 seconds, 15, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35 seconds, but it's probably not going to be a minute, minute and a half.
Mm-hmm.
And
I think I do have a shorter version too. So I could easily, or we could even just cut it way down.
Yeah. Well,
I'm definitely open to that. I agreed when I haven't listened to it in forever. Right. And so I was thinking the same thing as I'm listening to him. Like, yeah, it's a little bit long.
it's a little bit long. I wonder what our listener was thinking when we were doing this. I'm just curious if the listener was like, is Adam playing us a song right now, or is he playing Nate Bailey's podcast? Because this sounds like a song.
I have gotten a ton of compliments on it, but also I do think you're right. Like, would you want to listen to that every single time? The first time you hear it, you're like, oh, it's kind of cool. But
yeah, it is actually really cool. I think it's badass. Well, let's push play and how you're coming in with it.
With Hodgman County.
First and foremost, your mic use sounds amazing. Your mic use sounds really, really good. You got a great mic. You're right on it, and it is clear as day. So I highly want to mention that I love the sound quality of this podcast already.
Health Center in Kansas. And appreciate you coming here today. Thanks for being here.
Thank you very much, Nate. I'm glad to be here. Glad to be talking with you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nate, one thing that I would say about like just speeding up the episode a bit, and you probably noticed me doing this with you today. I did say welcome to the show, but I want to be real cautious. What I try to do on mine is I try to get the listener hooked and excited about whatever they're going to get from the podcast as fast as possible. So I don't really give like a big background. I did say that what your podcast name was. I said that your bio was in the show notes. Your podcast is in the show notes. But instead of kind of like being slow to start, I just said, I've got another host on. It's going to be a coaching call. This is one of your favorite things to listen to because he's going to ask the questions that you want to know. And so my thinking as I started today's episode with you is, how do I hook my audience? Like my audience, my listener has no idea what they're going to get out of this episode because they're most likely not reading the show notes before they listen. A couple people do that, but most of them are just going from episode to episode in chronological order. And I want to say as soon as possible, what are you going to get out of this episode? Why should you listen? What's in it for me? Everyone's favorite radio station, and of course, my listeners' favorite radio station, besides the podcast on podcasting, is WII-FM. What's in it for me? They want to know what's in it for them. And when they know what's in it for them, they're going to be hooked. They're going to stay. They're going to say, all right, Adam's going to deliver something that I want. Now I can listen in. You didn't do that. And it's been at like a minute and 48. And so it's kind of like you had that minute and 20 of music and then another, let's say, 20-ish seconds of kind of getting there, but not ever giving me a big promise. Now, I want you to tell your listener the big promise right in the beginning so that they know why it should stay here. Does that make sense?
Yep. Definitely.
That'll keep people listening.
So
I'm playing.
I do like to ask this question first to all my guests. Championship Leadership is the name of the podcast. So what comes to mind for you when you hear championship?
So I would literally just start by going something like this. What's that guy's name? David
Paul.
David Paul. Today we're with David Paul, and David Paul is an expert at XYZ. And so I want you to listen in so you can pick up those tips. And then you go, David Paul, the first question I really want to ask you is, what comes to mind when? We don't have to say, the first question that I want to ask you is a question that I ask a lot of my guests. This is just extra time of saying stuff that's less important, but just going straight in and saying, just asking the question, what comes to your mind, David Paul, when you think of
leadership? Like, what does that mean to you when you hear that?
To me, when I hear championship leadership, I think it brings to mind a lot of qualities in terms of personal sacrifice and service. I really don't see how you can separate service from leadership. I think people agree to follow your leadership. It's because that's just it. They're agreeing to it.
One, Nate, I'm going to keep pouring into you on just small things. You're coming at us, which is a good thing to come at us, at a level 4 or 5. Okay, so let's look at the energy levels, and 5 is average. 5 is the standard that everyone usually is talking out. Now, there are people that are ultra optimistic and ultra energetic, and they're coming at us with a 9 or a 10 or sometimes an 11 even out of 10. And then there's other people that are laid back, chill. They don't want to exaggerate anything, and they come at us with a level 2 or 3 or 4. And it's not exciting or interesting. They probably have good stuff to say. They're probably smart. They're probably eloquent. They probably have good information, and they probably are only going to say what's important to them. The thing that could happen is if we are listening to somebody who comes across as mundane, boring, or bored, we're going to feel mundane, boring, or bored. And when we have a guest, and you can hear me doing it right now, I'm coming at you with a level 6.5, 7. I'm coming at you with level 6.5, 7. You might be reciprocating back at a 5 or 6. But on your podcast episode that we're listening to right now, I think you're coming at a 4 or a 5 energy. And your guest is coming out at you with a 3 or a 4 energy. They're matching and mirroring you. And so, not trying to say that I hate the episode or something like that. I'm saying that I'm feeling bored only because your energy is at a 5 and their energy is at a 4. And the listener, this is a big takeaway for everybody. If you don't bring up a slightly past half, it'll always come across mundane, boring, and you're bored. It's like you don't care about the content or whatever if you're not coming at with a little bit more in gusto or enthusiasm. And now I'm not saying to overdo it. If you're listening, don't overdo this. Don't be fake. Don't come in and be like, "What's up, guys? It's your host, Adam A. Adams," blah, blah, blah. I'm not saying to go way overboard. That's going to get annoying. And your listener is going to be like, "Man, is this how this person is always?" But just by bringing it up to a level 6, it's going to come across as a 5, and it's going to be pleasant, and people are going to be happy, and they're going to feel like you give a shit about the content you're providing because you have the energy to back it up. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. Totally.
All right, let's keep pushing play.
Right. It's not like being a supervisor.
He's a little chill, isn't he?
He's a super chill guy. Yeah.
And you're probably matching and mirroring him as well. Like, you're coming out with some level, he's coming out with a level, and then you guys kind of osmosize and you become the same level. And it might end up being like a 3 or a 4 versus 6, where I would hope that you can be to deliver better content for your guests. So this is important for me to say, because when you do the marketing and growth strategies that I'll tell you about, or maybe my team can do it for you, but when you do those, we need to have the people that come, we need them to stay. We need them to be there for a while. If, for example, I do marketing for you or you do marketing for you, and let's say collectively we bring 1,000 more people's earballs to your show, Championship Leadership. Once we bring them there, we don't want to have them bounce off. We want them to stick. And so it's essential when considering that you're going to start doing paid ads, organic ads, like utilizing your social media, your email list, doing Facebook ads, YouTube ads, Google ads, private message campaigns, email campaigns with other people's lists, and other types of marketing as well. You'd want to make sure that the person that comes stays, because you will lose them for good. And it could be wasted time and money and energy to advertise if some of these things aren't in place. So your mic use and sound is already perfect. You sound legit. I don't think we're going to scare anyone off for that. The only 2 things would be, well, let's say 3 things. One is the music might be a little long. I want the first 60 seconds of your podcast to have something exciting to hook your listener. Find a way to have in the first 60 seconds of your podcast to hook your listener. You can do a teaser. A teaser is like a 17-second clip that happens later on in the podcast that maybe your guest, in this case, David Paul, has your guest saying something real legit, dropping some bombs on your listener, and you take an excerpt and you just move it into the front before the music ever even starts. That's one way to start to hook the listener. Another way to hook the listener is to give them that big promise at the beginning, where you say, today I'm with David Paul, and the reason I have him on the show is so that you can learn XYZ. Or you might ask a question. And by the way, if you're listening, I have a cold. And so you might hear me sniffling every now and again. I got sick yesterday. But anyway, keep going. Find a way maybe to ask a question where you say, are you struggling with XYZ? Then you're going to want to check out today's episode with David Paul. He's an expert on ABC, and we're going to deliver you some great content. Let's dive in. And that would be enough to get somebody to know what is in it for them. Remember, everybody's favorite radio station, WII-FM radio. What's in it for me? And then when you jump in with a question, the first question, you don't have to preface it so much. It's kind of a waste of the real estate. McDonald's is a real estate company, not a burger company. McDonald's gets prime real estate, like in the best corners, the best freeway exits in the world. And their main objective is buying that real estate. And technically, they lease out the property to the people that are starting the new thing. I think it costs like $1 million or something to start a McDonald's. And they basically buy the real estate and rent it out to that person and give them the model. And the main way that they make money is the real estate. And I always think of location, location, location. Location being a super important thing. And you always want the best things in the best places. You always want the best things in the best places. And for our podcast, you want the best things in the best places, meaning I've got a podcast agency and my main person that I serve is around the country. There is no reason for me personally to be at a freeway exit. I would be wasting that real estate because I don't have a type of business that can serve that type of person. So for me, I'm up in the mountains of Conifer, Colorado. It's snowing today in November. And I'm up in the mountains of Conifer, Colorado. Not really anyone's going to find me, my storefront. And that's okay because I don't need to take up prime real estate. And that's the same with some of the things that you're saying at the beginning. They don't need to take up that prime real estate. Other things could take up that prime real estate, like just jumping right in, giving the hook, the what's in it for me, all that kind of stuff. And I believe if you do a few of those things and keep the energy at a 6, probably. And if by any chance your guest is still at a 4, then you might need to this is a trick that I do. I smile at my guest. I don't think it's awkward at all. I just smile at them and I nod my head. And sometimes I'll point at them or give them a thumbs up. And it sounds ridiculous probably, but I got to sometimes cheerlead my guest if they're not coming at it with the energy that I want them to. I've even paused the episode and said, hey, I want you to come at me with a level 6 or we're not recording this. I'm just not going to record it. And it doesn't always work. Sometimes they're offended because I tell them to come at me a level 6. They're like, this asshole, he's trying to coach me while I'm his guest. Like, not cool. But I will tell them, hey, bring it up a notch. If it's at a 5 or 4, it's going to come across as a 2 and nobody's going to listen. I don't want that. We're not helping anybody if we do that. So let me see how you end your episode. I'm going to go to the 2-minute left mark. Oh, I thought I pushed play.
I think it's an unpopular choice. Many times it goes against the grain.
Yeah.
But at the end of the night, you have to go to sleep with your decisions. And if you feel good that you did the right thing on that day, then many times that's really all you can ask for.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I love that. What's as we start to wrap this up, if 1 or 2 things that you could give to the listeners that, if they were to implement today
I'm not sure if it was your podcast that I listened to today with you right now, or if it was my last coaching client, just like right before this. I think one of you started off the episode with, hey, everybody. I don't know if that was you or not, but hey, everybody is not personalized. And
I could probably do that.
Okay. Sure. So your listener,
hey, everyone.
Yeah, everyone. Okay. You really have one listener. even when I speak on a stage in front of, just say 600 people, I'm on this stage, there's 600 people in the audience. I don't say, hey, everyone. I don't say, hey, guys. I don't say, hey, people. I may say, how y'all doing? But normally I say, you. I'm on stage, 600 people right in front of me. I could easily say, you guys, you audience, but I say, you. I say, think about this. I want you to think about this. Yeah, no, there's hundreds of people there. I want you to think about this. And when was the last time that you did this? And if your goal, not your people's goal, not all of you people's goal, but if your goal is to invest in real estate, if your goal is to grow your business, if your goal is to get executive coaching, if your goal is to have a top niche podcast, I don't say if any of you guys have that goal of a top niche podcast. The reason why is because when we use the individual words, like you're the listener, not listeners, then we have a more personal relationship with our listener. And today, technically, as we're recording this, I'm getting 3,500 downloads per episode. So if I wanted, I could pretend like I'm talking to 3,500 people, but I don't resonate with that. Each individual listener has probably got their headphones on. They might be cooking, cleaning, running, walking, on a bike ride, driving to a vacation, driving to work. But it's one person usually listening by themselves. And I want them to know that I see them and not acknowledge them and understand who they are and what they're going through. That one person, not all of the people. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely.
So at the end, you say something to David Paul. It was something like, tell our listeners. I don't have it specific, but I'll rewind it and play it again.
Good that you did the right thing on that day. Then many times that's really all you can ask for.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I love that. What's as we start to wrap this up, if there's one or two things that you could give to the listeners that, if they were to implement today would have.
Yeah, if they were to, I preface it with my guest. I say, our listener today, and I say one person, our listener today is going through this. If that's who you're talking about, what would you say to him or her? What would you say to that one person? And it just kind of comes across as like, we're only talking with one person. And we want to listen when it's about us. We don't always want to listen when it's about other people. And so for me, I just say, if our listener is wanting, because my podcast is the podcast on podcasting. If our listener today is looking to grow a podcast and they've been doing it for not very long, probably less than 2 years, what's the one thing that you would tell them that they needed to implement today? But I'm talking about one person. All right, let's keep playing.
Move their life forward.
On the opportunity.
Like what they heard, they want to reach out. Maybe they have a question.
We're at the 30-second mark.
Oh, something you said or want to follow you on, are you on social media? Is there any way to contact you?
One thing that I do, Nate, is I have the social media already ready. Like they give it to me ahead of time. And I never say, where do you want people to follow you? I just say, Nate's information is already in the show notes. You can check out those handles by just scrolling down right now. And then I never have to ask the person, because most people are going to give you like dozens of places to go. It's sad, but they're like, oh, my Instagram is this, my Facebook is this, my LinkedIn is this, my website is this, my free book is this, my podcast is this, my YouTube channel is this. And it's like, what do you want me to do, man? You told me all of these things. I can't remember a single dang one. So I always just say, all the Nate stuff is in the show notes. You can scroll down and connect with him today.
How old are you?
So yeah, I'm actually on LinkedIn. That is unfortunately my only social media. I'm not on any of the other
you got lucky
social
with
media
him.
formats. But yeah, if you're on LinkedIn, reach out to me. I'd love to connect with people. Love to share stories. Love to know what's going on in their world. And reach out to me.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you, David Paul, for being here. And it was a great conversation. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, Nate, you have a great week.
Bro, you know what I'm thinking? You don't have any outro. You don't have any, it just ends.
Is there not an outro on there?
Not on this episode, no. It just ended at the 0 without it.
There used to be like a short little outro, basically the song. So I'll have to check.
I'll play this other one and
Let's go.
let me listen to this other one.
The people, I really started the podcast as kind of my own form of therapy, and I didn't expect anything to come of it. And it's just
there's not
kind of taken on a life of its own.
Yeah, no, it's good to know that. I need to. Well, appreciate you being here today. It's been a pleasure. I haven't listened to
thanks for having me.
A long time.
Yeah. So these two don't end with anything. I always have a call to action on mine every single time. Like I'm probably going to have a call to action at the end of this episode today. And I'll just say, if you're listening, and I know you are, I don't want you to go anywhere. The next episode is me pouring directly into you, the listener. And I'm trying to help you with the things that I know you need. And that's the very next episode. So don't even leave. I'll see you there. And that helps me because maybe only 1% or 2% or even 10 or 15%, maybe that's all that does it, but they will listen to 2 episodes instead of 1 episode.
Yeah. Right.
Because when I end it with goodbye, see you next time, see you next week, then they're thinking to themselves, man, I can't listen to this podcast for a whole week. I've got to go do something else. It's subliminal messaging. Even if they're listening to, even if they've downloaded like 300 of your episodes and you say, I'll see you next week. They're like, oh, I'm supposed to turn this off. I'm supposed to turn this off now because he doesn't want me to see me until next week. So I would tell my listener at the end of every single effing episode, on the interview episodes and on the solo episodes, I'm like, do not go away. On the next episode, I've got a guest that's going to ask questions that you want to know. You don't want to miss it. I'll see you on the next episode. Or don't go away. I've created a solo episode on a topic that you need to know, that you need to learn, that I know that you're struggling with. And I created that episode. It's going to be the next episode that you listen to. So don't go anywhere. I'll see you there. All right. That was long, but Nate, I need to give you some marketing tips.
Okay.
What are you doing on Facebook? Like social media marketing, organic?
Yeah. Yes.
What do you do? Like, can you tell me an example of something?
For the podcast or just in general? For the podcast, across probably Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. I mean, we'll share the episode. Usually we'll have some graphics made from each episode. Maybe it's a quote from the guest.
I love it. Do you share the link to the episode in the post?
Yeah, I think so. I'll have to double check again. And my VA is doing that, but I believe we do.
Let me throw out a suggestion. Just take the link out.
Okay.
Use that hook story offer that I gave you before. The hook is that question, the drawing a line in the sand, the thing that grabs attention.
Yeah.
The story is the thing that you want them to know. And the offer is the thing that you want them to do. And you don't want them to click on a link. You want them to comment below. Because if they start clicking on a link, Facebook has a built-in algorithm. This algorithm says, oh, he put a link. We have to shadow ban him. You know why we shadow ban them? It's because we need to make money. And Facebook makes money with attention. They make money when people stay on Facebook. They don't make money when people go to podcasts and get stuck to podcasts.
Right.
They don't make money when people go to YouTube. They don't make money when people they bought Insta because they weren't making money when people went to Insta. And now they're like, okay, we can kind of try to put these together. But they don't make money when people go to LinkedIn.
Yeah.
They don't make money when people go to your company website. So people are always thinking, yeah, but how are they going to know my episode? If I don't give them the link, how are they going to know? Well, the call to action that I want to suggest that you start using instead of here's the link is I want you to just say hook, story, and then the offer is, let's say, have you ever wanted to monetize but don't know how? That might be my hook. In this episode with Nate Bailey, we talk about a lot of the prerequisites to being able to monetize, things that need to be in place so that you could even monetize. And then we go into some marketing strategies that are going to help you. If you'd like to listen to that episode for free, this is the CTA, the call to action. If you'd like to listen to that episode for free, I'd be happy to send you the link. Just let me know in the comments and I'll get it to you right away. That's the offer. And it's going to take a lot more work because now you're replying to everybody instead of doing that. But there's 2 algorithms. You can either have the algorithm that's built in to shadow ban you, or you can have the algorithm that's built in to put you in front of a larger amount of the people that are on your social. So Facebook, for example, might only show you to 10 people. If you don't have the link, they might show you to 10 people. If you do have the link, they probably won't show you to anyone unless they're actually on your page. But if you don't have a link, they're going to be like, oh, let's show it to 10 people and split test and see how it goes. If those people are all engaging, then they'll show it to more. If those people just get a link that you left or in the comments, some people put the link in the comments, they think it's better, then they'll go and then they'll leave, but they won't engage. They won't really like it. They won't really comment on it. They won't do any of that. You're not going to get the positive algorithm, which is the engagement algorithm, which says to Facebook and LinkedIn and others, man, something's cool about Nate Bailey. Like, people want to see this post that he's making right now. Let's put it in front of 100 people. Ooh, 100 people are still commenting and liking. Let's put it in front of 300 people. Let's put it in front of half of his audience. So I just had a post on my social, and I used this hook story offer formula with a call to action. Actually, this is how you found me. This is the one that you found me on. So the call to action was comment below. Let me know in the comments if you want to be one of those people. And I think I got like 250 comments or something like that, right? And it's because a few people are starting to like it, comment on it. Facebook says people are liking and commenting. I'm going to put this in front of more of his followers. And then you got to see that post because I built it correctly. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
All right. Other marketing things. I'm going to throw out YouTube ads, LinkedIn ads, podcast ad. Some of these, you kind of have to have a person on your team. Organic. Have you used audiograms or videograms before? I know you use quote cards, which are great.
I have used audiograms before. Yeah.
Have you seen good results with it?
I can't say that the downloads were any better, but it's been some time since we've used them. Yeah, it's been a while.
One thing that my team likes to do is use audiograms and videograms, and we use the same excerpt that we moved to the beginning of your podcast as the teaser.
Yep. Okay.
And we make that 17 seconds or less as an audiogram or videogram. And it brings in some good content. And then we use the copy. Means the sales copy or the script as what we're writing in the post. We've got the audiogram or videogram sitting there, which is already going to capture some attention. And then on the post up above, we use hook, story, offer.
Yep. Okay.
We still go
Makes
hook.
sense.
We still go story. And then we might still say the same thing, like, have you wanted to monetize your show? Well, there's some prereqs that you have to do if you want to even think about advertising and growing that way. And in this episode, we talk all about that. And here's a clip. I'm sharing with you a clip. And if you want the whole episode, let me know in the comments. Now, here's something that's going to be super valuable to you, Nate. I think worth all of the time that we've spent on this whole episode. There's 2 ways of monetizing your podcast. There is 8 ways to monetize, but there's 2 ways to use advertising and sponsorship. One of them is to have somebody who basically reaches out to you and does the CPM model. Cost per mil, cost per 1,000 downloads. And if you're getting like 100 downloads, then you get a 10th of what you get for the meal, right? For the 1,000. So if, for example, they might say, I'm going to give you $20 CPM. So you're going to get $2 if you're at 100 instead of 1,000. And if you were at 3,000, then you would get $60 in that case, right? I have always believed that this is the most shitty way to try to make money through a podcast is CPM.
Yeah.
But it's the way that people teach you and tell you. And it's one of the reasons why a lot of people say, don't even try to monetize until you have 30,000 downloads per episode. Because then you're getting 30 times 20, that's $600. And then they're thinking this is when you're starting to be value.
Yeah.
And so the listener, and you, Nate, remember how we say listener, there's one person listening. The listener today, and you, Nate, might be thinking, I want to monetize. And the most natural, normal thing that you might have heard is CPM. And so you're going to reach out to people, and the best you're going to make on your podcast is $20 in an episode. And that's going to be frustrating for you. You're not going to like it. You're going to feel like, what's the point? Like, I spend more time having this advertiser, this sponsor. And so I'm making like $5 an hour below minimum wage by trying to get this person. What's the point of having them? So the way to fix it, the different way to do it, is for you to reach out to people. You reach out to them instead of having them reach out to you. You controlling the price and not basing it on CPM. In fact, after this episode, Nate, I'm probably going to record that solo episode, and it's going to focus on the difference between CPM and the regular model. And you can definitely listen to that yourself. And I encourage the listener to not go anywhere, but to stay on the podcast and listen to that episode, because you're leaving money on the table if you don't. Bump, bump, bump. See that cliffhanger? Everybody's wants to. So on the next episode, we're going to go into the other way that's not CPM. And Nate, I encourage you to listen to it. I'll even have my team send it to you early, since you and I had this conversation. So I'll probably record it right now, and it'll be on the very next episode. Nate, thank you for jumping on the podcast. I hope you got some value. This next episode is going to give you the rest of the value, because I want you to make, instead of $20 or $2 per episode, I think you could be making $2,500, just like a client of ours got their first client, not with very many more downloads than you have. I'll see you guys on the next episode. You know, I really don't say this nearly enough. I don't mention this, and I feel horrible, because it's a great resource for you to be able to take your podcast to the next level. And it's simply a free resource that I don't need your email or anything. It's just a podcasting course that I created that is ended up putting in the very first 6 episodes of this podcast. So if you haven't checked it out, definitely going to want to just check out those first 6 episodes, see how they can help you improve your podcast, get in front of more people, and have a better result where you're making more money through the podcast, etc. So much can happen after you listen through episodes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So if you haven't done it, go do it now. And by the way, if you're subscribed, you'll keep hearing more great content. So to those of you who are, I'll see you on the next episode.